up? Welcome back to my channel. So if you aren't already aware, this month is Suicide Awareness Month. Now this month is very, very near and dear to my heart, and I wanted to make a video, a little story time to tell you guys exactly what my connection is to this particular topic. Now, I myself have never dealt with depression. I mean, obviously I've had moments in my life like where I've been sad and, maybe felt hopeless, but not so hopeless that it has ever occurred to me that the only way out of that would be to take my life. However, I think it is very important for people, especially those who have never experienced these feelings, to be aware that they do exist and to understand the signs. And even when there aren't signs, because oftentimes the signs are not as obvious as you might think. It's important, and that's why I wanted to share this video, because it's important for you to know that it can happen to anybody. I think the misconception is, you see people that are dressed in all black, and you see people that are like sad looking, maybe listening to moody music, look a little, rough around the edges. Those are the people that are typically experiencing these feelings, and it's not. This particular, the feeling of depression and leading to trying to commit suicide affects a lot of people. Affects people that are rich, that are poor, that are middle class, that are moms, that are dads, that are kids, grandmothers. So many people can be affected by this. So I want to get right to it, share with you my story. And I'm not going to tell you every single detail, because I did make a video related to the subject and more in detail with my daughter, which is who this involves. And I'll post a link to it below so that you can go check that out as well. So, as I mentioned before, my experience with suicide awareness is with my daughter. Now, just to give you a little bit of background, I grew up in a two-parent household, middle class. Nothing, bad really ever happened in my household. So my household was very similar. Both my kids have a father, same father. We've always been together. We don't, have any type of abuse going on in our household. Neither of us are big drinkers. Obviously we don't do drugs. I don't want to say obviously, but we don't do drugs. And we are really, really dedicated to our family unit. So, because I am Hispanic and very traditional, I grew up very traditional, was raised very traditional. We, have family dinners together every night. We sit down, no phones. I get up and cook breakfast for everybody. We have a chat in the morning. I check in with the kids all the time, say I love you more times than I can count. I know all my kids' friends, they come over to the house. It's always been like that. So when my daughter started to get into her first kind of like level of depression, was when she was in middle school. She was bullied for something that happened. And, I'm not going to go too far into it again. You can look at the video that I am posting in my link below, which will tell you about that situation. But I really, as her mom, had no idea how deeply it was affecting her. Now, she was like any typical teenager, she was moody, she would sometimes have days where she was like super, in a good mood and hanging around us, and other days where she was just like in her room watching movies, always on her phone, and I think as her mom and as any parent, you're kind of like, oh, that's kids these days, always on their phone, but, she got good grades, she behaved well, we never had any behavioral issues with her. She was involved in, swimming and choir, and she had good friends, and, I never would have thought that she was feeling the way she was feeling, because she never really like went into depth with me. Now there were times like where I, would notice she maybe was having a bad day, and we would talk about it, and I would get the, oh, it's nothing, or, just some drama at school. Like she would just kind of brush it off. And, I didn't want to push too much. I figured if she wanted to tell me about it, she would. But I just didn't even think that it was that serious. I just wrote it off as regular teenage stuff. And one day I was on a business trip in Austin. I'm in Dallas right now. So I was in Austin and I get a call. I think it was like 10 o'clock in the morning. It was during the week. And it was a police officer calling from her school. And the police officer told me, I don't want you to be alarmed, but we've had a situation with your daughter here at school. And of course, as a parent, like, you hear those words and your heart sinks. So I'm going to try not to cry. It gets me every time because, like, reliving this moment is so hard. But he says to me, we have a situation with your daughter. We found her in the school bathroom, bleeding, laying in blood, basically. And I was like, what? What? Not my daughter. And he says, I'm going to put your mom on the phone, because by this point, because I was out of town, my mom was watching my kids. At this point, they had called my mom. Gabby had told them to call my mom, I guess. And my mom was there, and they put my mom on the phone. And my mom starts to tell me that Gabby had taken a knife from her house, from her kitchen, and had cut her wrists. And she had cut her wrists in a place that caused her to bleed a lot and pass out. And I couldn't believe it. Like, I literally freaked out. Like, I couldn't imagine this was happening or that it was real. Even though I was hearing it, like, I couldn't even, I was like, this can't be. I'm a good mom. She's a good kid. Like, this can't be. It was all happening so fast. So as quick as I could, I got on a plane and, got back to Dallas. I could have driven because it was like a 3-hour drive, but I just couldn't even imagine sitting in a car for 3 hours, just processing all this information. So I got a plane out to Dallas, was home within the hour, and my daughter is in the emergency room, and they are, they won't let me see her. They're evaluating her. They have a psychiatrist talking to her, asking her, did she want to commit suicide? Was she wanting to take her life? What was going on? And it was all happening so fast. And it was just the hardest thing for our family to go through. Especially after she came home. Now, they did, after talking to her, they ruled, according to the questions, I guess, that they asked her, that she was not a suicide risk. But the doctor said, had she cut just a centimeter deeper, she would have bled out, she would have been dead. And, it makes you wonder, because I think sometimes some kids, maybe do these types of things and don't recognize or realize how far it can go and what the result can be. They're maybe doing it for attention, or it's a cry for help, which in this case, that's exactly what it was. And then something tragic happens and you lose your child or your loved one forever. But they ruled that, she was not trying to end her life. But the really hard conversation was, why? Why did you do this? Where did this come from? And when I tell you that she did not want to talk for weeks, she did not want to talk. She was like a zombie. She was not the girl that I knew. She was just a different person. And all I could do was sit there and go over in my mind, what I had done wrong. Was it something I said? Did I yell at her? And actually, before I left for my trip, we got into a fight. in the car. I don't remember what it was about, but when she was at the hospital, she told them that we had gotten in a fight, and something that I said made her feel really bad and made her feel worthless, like she didn't matter. And, you know, the moment that she decided to go do what she did, she happened to be at lunch with her girlfriends and really wanted somebody to talk to. She really wanted somebody to talk to. And she asked her girlfriends, like, hey, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Like, can you come with me? Because I'm just not feeling so great. Can you come with me? And the girls, I guess, didn't feel like coming with her. So my daughter went on her own to the bathroom. And it was at that moment that she made the decision to do what she did. Now, I'm in no way blaming the girls or her friends for that. But I say that because when somebody wants to talk to you, or when you feel like somebody needs you, pay attention. Don't write them off. Don't think that you have later, because you may not. But you know, these girls were young. These girls were her age. They were probably going through the same thing. And they're, you know, girls these days get so desensitized, you know, to everything going on because they're exposed to so many things. And it's sad because, you know, I think kids these days are taught that not feeling perfect is not okay. And if you're not accepted, you know, you better get it together, or, you know, you're just going to be discarded. And I think that that's how my daughter was feeling at the time. Later on, when we were finally able to talk about it, I had to go through my own growth during this period. I did a lot of praying, because I basically asked God, I was like, just show me like what I could have done differently. Like, where did I go wrong? How can I do better? And I think what God told me to do, which is what I did, was he said to me, just listen to her. And so I sat down. I'm so sorry. I said I wasn't going to cry, and here I am crying. I sat down with her and I just said, so tell me about that day. And she told me, and I said, why did you feel like this was your only option? And she said to me, well, Mom, every time I try to talk to you, or even when I talk to you about things that my friends are going through, you know, the way you react to it scared me, because I thought if I told her I felt this way, I would be in trouble. And that broke my heart, because I told her, I said, I don't want you to feel that way. I don't ever want you to feel like you can't talk to me, or, you know, if you're gonna be in trouble. I mean, my concern always is you, and I'm here for you. I'm here to listen to you, and I want you to know that. But I have said this phrase before, and I'm gonna say it again. Kids do not listen to what you say. They watch what you do, okay? And my daughter had watched me go through a lot of stuff personally with my own self-worth. At one point, I was 400 pounds. You know, she saw me go up and down and struggle with my self-worth and critique my body and talk about how this could be better and how that could be better. And I didn't realize that that was damaging her, to watch me critique myself in a way, you know, to watch me try to be so perfect, and to never talk about with her the things that were real and that were hurting in me, and things that I had gone through, and share those experiences and those stories with her. She wanted that for me. She wanted that connection for me, and I really wasn't giving it to her the way I thought. I thought that it was enough to have dinner together. I thought that it was enough to say I love you 100 times a day. I thought that it was enough to do fun things and go on family vacations and, you know, be able to provide her with whatever she wanted. I mean, I never spoiled my kids unnecessarily, but my kids never want for anything. But at the end of the day, all those things weren't enough. She wanted me, and I wasn't there enough. You know, she said to me things that were really hard to hear. Like, Mom, every time I talk to you, you're on your phone, you're scrolling through your phone, or, you're on social media. Or you're talking on the phone to your friends, and, I just go up to my room and I just deal with it on my own, and it is what it is. And that was really, really hard to hear, that my daughter was telling me I wasn't present. So I really want to tell parents out there, and not just parents, but like if you have a friend or you have a family member, if you care about somebody, be present in their life, not just when they're going through hard times or when they're sick, because you tend to when somebody goes into the hospital or you get a call that, something bad happened, you rush to that person's side. Oh, I'm here for you. Anything you need, or you scroll on Facebook and you see that somebody's had something bad happen. Oh my gosh, that's so terrible. I'm praying for you. Pray for people even when you don't think they need the prayer. Reach out to people even when you don't want anything or they don't want anything, just to say, hey, so that they know you're there. It's so important that, especially now that we're so disconnected with social media and all these other distractions going on in life, that you just make sure the people that you care about and the people that you love know that you're there. That's the best thing you can do. Because one day when they need somebody, they're going to remember who was there for them and who they can reach out to. I'm proud to say that my daughter has come such a long way since those days, but it wasn't easy to come out of that. It took a lot of work, not just for her. I think the majority of the work had to happen within the family. Like, we all had to adjust. We all had to change the way we did things, and we all had to change the way we approached each other and the way we loved each other. And, that took time. I mean, I want to say it took a good 3 years before the shock of all that wore off. I don't want to say wore off, because it never wears off, but the worry that you have, I can't tell you how many nights I was just would get up in the middle of the night and go check her in her bedroom like she was a baby again, or just text her during the day at school and say, hi, how are you doing? Everything good? Almost to the point where she was like, okay, Mom, now you're being annoying with it, so there was a healthy balance to it. But she has come such a long way. She is such a strong girl, such a strong woman. And of course she still has, bad days and bad moments, but now she knows that she doesn't have to hide anything from me. She doesn't have to feel like she has to be perfect all the time. It's okay to fail. It's okay to not do something right. We encourage that now. You know what I mean? I make sure, yes, I want my children to know I always expect the best out of you. But what I really expect is that you are always walking forward. And even when you make a mistake, you get up, you learn from it, and you keep going. I remember one of the last things I said to her a couple weeks after the incident happened was, I put my arm around her and I said, Gabs, that's my daughter's name, Gabby. I said, this will either be the worst thing that ever happened or the best thing that ever happened. And if you don't learn from this, and if you don't take this and do something with it, it will be a bad memory. But we can make this a good memory. We can turn this around. And I'm happy to say that although the situation was tragic, with the events that happened, it was the best thing that could have happened, because we all needed to wake up. We all needed to wake up. And since that moment, we have all done so much growing as individuals and as a family. And so much more has come out of it positively than could have ever come out of it negatively. So I consider myself extremely blessed to have had a second chance, because so many parents and people don't get a second chance to tell that person that they lost to suicide that they love them and that they were there all along and that they cared. So make sure in this Suicide Awareness Month and beyond that you take the time to always let people know that you're there for them, and to always set the example that you don't have to be perfect, that imperfection is beauty, that it's okay to feel sad and it's okay to cry, because at the end of the day, that's what makes us human. And mostly I would say, you know, for us, the foundation that really healed us was God. At least for me and my daughter, especially, it was God. Like, we really, really, really leaned on God and strength from God and strength in the Word to be able to get through those times. And we still rely. Even though things are going great and she's accomplishing so much, you know, she's getting ready to go into the Marines. She's such a beautiful, strong person. Like, I look at her and I'm just like, how did I make you? Because I'm not as great as you are, you know, like, she's just a strong girl. So anyways, I don't want to get to crying again, but this was my video to bring awareness to Suicide Awareness Month and suicide awareness in general. If you guys have any stories that you would like to share, please drop a comment below. I've had many people email me. My email is letstalkdarling@gmail.com. So if you want to connect and tell me your story, I would love to hear it. I know so many parents are going through this. I know so many people have experienced this, and there's a shame around talking about it, and there shouldn't be. There shouldn't be. We have to share our stories with one another, because in that we find strength. Give this video a like if you liked it. Definitely share the video if you feel like somebody would find it useful. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys so much. I love you. Bye.